Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Let me get Instagram up here too. Always like to start a little bit early. Just say hi to everyone. Welcome to hello, hello, Instagram. Hello, hello, YouTube. Coming on here just a few minutes early at 10 a.m. We're going to begin the free photography live class. I'm excited for everyone to join us today. If you're here with me ahead of time, thank you. Thanks for being on time. That's what I always like to say. And I'm looking at my chat boxes now. So if you're here with me now and you want to chime in, let me know that you're here. Hi from Instagram. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. I have a great presentation for you guys today. I am excited to be on here because I have not done this in a little while. So I might repeat myself a little bit because I really do want to start right at 10 a.m., but I'll give you guys a heads up. I have not gone live in like 2 years with me, but I'm super excited to share with you all these tips today and just hopefully give you a whole new perspective on what it means to play with your camera and really capture great visual stories. So hello, hello, waving to everyone I can before I get started. We're going to start right at 10 o'clock, which is in less than a minute. I'll say this too. I have YouTube up. Hi, YouTube. I have Instagram up. And I have both chat boxes up, and I'm a one-man show today. So please chime in. There's a reason this is a live class, okay? Ask me questions. We are going to talk a lot about my philosophy around photography, and hopefully you're going to walk away with some really great tips you can start implementing right away. But if you have questions, now's the time to ask, okay? So if you're on YouTube watching, and of course, if you're on Instagram watching, there's a question box. So ask away. All right, let's get started. Hello and welcome everyone to the free photography training. My name is Danielle Hanusek. I'm the owner of a marketing and photography company called Live Wonderful. And like I said, I'm really excited to share with you some great photo tips today. I'm going to be sharing my 5 steps to photo success. This is a system that I built about 8 years ago. And it's really going to break down the easy way of shooting and taking pictures. So I like to say these are steps that you can use for any kind of photography. I don't care if you want to capture great photos of your family, if you want to get print-worthy epic shots of your travel adventures, or maybe you run a business and you're trying to get pro-level photos to market that business and maybe build your social media following. So you can be a beginner, you could be a professional already, but no matter where you're at in your photography journey, I just want you to know that my goal is for you to leave this training with a whole new perspective on not just what it means to take pictures or take great photos, but what it really means to capture creative visual stories that feel the way they feel to you. Okay, so that's the key, that's the difference than just all the technical jargon you hear out there normally when you're learning photography. So now, before we really dive in, I'm still giving everyone a few minutes to join us. Thank you guys. I love seeing everyone's faces or names show up on Instagram and YouTube as well. Thank you. I'll say this again. I said it earlier when I first got on, but I have a little confession to make. I have not gone live to teach in over 2 years. So I'm really excited for this. I hope I don't seem too nervous, but please bear with me. I do have 2 screens going and, hopefully it all works out. So again, to Instagram, stick around with me. I've got some great bonuses for you and awesome new information to share. And hello on YouTube. I haven't gone live on YouTube in even longer than that. So I'm excited to be here with my community over there. If you are here with me live, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you're paying attention. Like I said, we got a lot of great things to get into today, hopefully about 30 minutes. So I want you to enjoy this Saturday, but let me know that you're here. I'm not talking into the ether, okay? My chat boxes are open. Ask any questions while you're paying attention. And let me also say this before we begin. I do have a little presentation here. And I'm just using it to keep me on track, make sure I get all this great information out, okay? but I'm not going to be sharing the slides because it's a little too techy for me to do it on YouTube and on Instagram at the same time. So if I want to say three things. One, if you want these slides that I'm about to go through and give you all this great information, just shoot me an email. I'll send them to you. I'm not trying to hold anything back here, okay? So email me at hello@livewonderful.com and I will make sure you get these slides from today's presentation, okay? Also, because I know we're watching as we're moving through life, and it's a beautiful Saturday. And there's this statistic out there that says we really only take in like 10% of what we hear information today. And this is stuff that I really wish someone had taught me when I first picked up the camera. So I want you to be able to take this and just implement it right away today if you're going out to take photos and be able to use it all the time. So get out your pen and paper, be ready to take some great notes. Email me if you want the slides. Also, I'm pretty sure both YouTube and Instagram will let me save this video. So I hope to be able to post it and share it again with you guys later, okay? So who's ready? You ready to dive in? Hello again on Instagram. Let me know that you're here joining me. Send me a hello in the chat box, and let's get started. Now, a lot of what I'm going to share with you today could pertain to mobile photography. It could get into how you use your cell phone, but really it's about using what my students like to call their fancy cameras, okay? They're real DSLR or mirrorless cameras. So here's a quick summary of what we're going to go over today in hopefully about 30 or 45 minutes, okay? Hello, thanks for joining. Okay, the first thing I want to go over with you is the most important step for storytelling photography. This is something that I feel like a lot of professionals and almost all educators just forget about or don't realize is really the most important step. So we're going to talk about that first. Second, we're going to dive into my number one secret to great photos. Okay. This is like the thing we all need to keep in mind every time we pick up the camera. And again, a lot of people just forget about it. The other thing I really want to dive into today is I want to bust some serious photography myths. Now, if you're on my email list or if you saw me on Instagram earlier, I think I said something like 3 myths I'm going to bust, but we have a few more than that. Okay. So we're going to bust photography. Open up the floor for live Q&A. You guys can ask any questions you want, your photography journey or anything I've shared with you today. And so I want you to stick around to the end because I'm going to give one lucky winner a copy of my infamous cheat sheet, aka storytelling guide when you're out in the field. This is something I've been developing over the years, and it goes through my 5 steps to photo success, which we're going to go over today. And on the other side, it's all your camera settings and how they relate to those 5 steps, how each setting gets you prepared for getting a great photo, a great story that you want to capture, okay? So stick around to the end. I'm going to give one of these away. And I'm also going to tell you a little bit more about my upcoming in-person photography workshop. It's going to be happening in downtown Orlando on May 11th. So I'll tell you a little bit more around that. I want you to stick around to the end, not just because you might win a cheat sheet, but because I do have one other surprise bonus I want to offer just everyone who has taken the time to join me today on this live. This is not something that I'm sharing with my email list. It's not something I'm sharing on the website. I won't be talking about it anymore on social. So it's a surprise. I'm going to tell you about it at the end, and I promise it's totally worth it. So stick around, live Q&A at the end of this, and a chance to win some great stuff, okay? Now, I am super honored and glad to see so many names that I recognize, especially over here on Instagram. I'll wave as I can. But in case you don't know me and you're like, why should I learn from you? Let me reintroduce myself, okay? My name is Danielle. I've been shooting professionally for over 18 years. And I started to fall in love with photography back in college. I actually decided to minor in it while I was getting my marketing degree. But even after graduating and getting a career at a high-end luxury portrait studio, I still didn't feel very confident with my camera. Meaning, like, I didn't even like using manual mode. I was always questioning myself. I was always changing my settings around randomly without really knowing what was going to happen, without really having a purpose. And I was always looking at the back of my screen like, that's not what I thought it would look like. Sure you have felt that way before too. Sure, I've learned formulas, and I know this is the way a lot of photographers like to educate and teach beginners is, let me give you a formula. Let me give you the exact numbers to use. But that just meant that I could shoot a certain type of photo and I couldn't actually pick up my camera anytime I wanted. I wasn't cut out for the corporate world and I own business. So what did I do? I moved across the country. I tried to start my own business and it kind of fell apart. Now, I'm sure I volunteered in over 10 countries and backpacked my way through Europe and Asia. My journey, and of course, I had my camera with me the whole time. So this really how I became confident behind the lens was through experience, right? Through practice. It was during that trip that I founded Live Wonderful with the philosophy that we are all creative because this is what it means to be human, right? So, my mission with Live Wonderful and my company is simple but powerful, okay? Whether it's for your personal life or it's for your professional life, I want to empower you to capture and create great stories with passion and purpose, with meaning behind them, not just snapshots, right? So, since starting my business, I've been published, presented in gallery shows, won awards, but mostly I've just enjoyed making this business and teaching others on my own terms, right? Kind of having this creative freedom lifestyle. And even though it took me years of trial and error and hours of extra classes and workshops and that year of traveling, YouTube videos that were confusing, all of that was still exhausting because I had to figure this out on my own. And so when it finally all started to click for me, I knew I had to come up with a better way to help others, help people like you actually understand manual mode simply, right? And actually feel confident taking creative control of their camera without having to open their camera manual or without having to get on YouTube and hope that this person's going to explain it, where finally I get that light bulb moment and I feel confident, right? So in 2018, I developed my first beginner photography workshop. In 2020, I turned it into an online course. And now here we are today in 2024, where I'm excited to share these 5 steps with you and my best tips along my entire photography journey. So these are tips that I've been able to share with thousands of others, just like you and me, who want to feel confident. And I'm not going to confuse you with technical jargon. I'm not going to make you memorize any numbers or settings. I'm just going to show you a simple 5-step system that will be for the rest of your life. Okay. My goal for you today. I want you to leave with confidence, knowing you can create great stories and you can actually go out and start playing and practicing in manual mode. All right, enough about me. You guys ready? Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining me. I'll say it again. If you're here, chime in on the chat box. I'd love to hear from you. Ask questions. This is live for a reason. So let's dive in. I'm going to start right away by sharing with you the 5 steps, and then we're actually going to dive into each one individually, okay? So here they are. This is the point. You want to get out your pen and paper? Now's the time to start taking notes, okay? And like I said, I will share this video with you. Number 1 is your story. You kind of heard me talk about this already a little bit. Your story is the most important thing to think about. It's the number 1 step. Number 2 is all about light. Number 3 is all about motion. Number 4 is about focus. And number 5 is about your creativity. So we're going to dive into each one of these one by one and really distill down what they mean when it comes to using your camera to capture your stories. So let's talk about number 1, your story. Now, here's myth number 1 that I want to bust for you, okay? A lot of people believe that you have to know everything about photography. You have to know every single setting, every single number, everything, that you see on the back of your camera and what it means before you can actually capture professional level photos. But it's not true. The truth is, what matters most and what matters first is knowing why you wanted to pick that camera up in the first place. When we understand what gives us that urge to capture the moment, we can start to really become present with the feelings and the stories we're already creating with our experiences. And then we'll be able to know how the camera is seeing it. And then we'll know which settings we need to use. So we don't need to know every single setting. We don't need to memorize anything. This is really the most important step in photography, and a lot of people forget about it. They just go out there, they get stuck in their heads, and they're constantly looking down at their camera, trying to figure out what's wrong. Instead of being present and keeping your eyes open and feeling connected to those stories that you're really trying to capture. So I like to think of it like this. Our stories are made up of the five senses we use to experience life and the emotional attachments we get to those experiences that turn into thoughts that turn into memories, right? So the camera is simply a creative tool that helps us hold on to those memories even more, right? Again, whether it's for your family, for travel adventures, for running your business and marketing, doesn't matter what it is. Visual stories are there to captivate us. They're there to draw us into the moment and make us feel what the photographer felt when they took the photo, right? So when we start to really hone in on our story, why did I even care to take this photo? Then we can start to dive into steps 2, 3, and 4, which are how the camera sees your story. So, number 2 is about the camera story, and it's my secret to great photography that, sure, maybe some pros that are out there, they know this secret, but I bet you most of them um, don't remember this, don't think about it in the moment. They don't stay present to the moment because they're too busy thinking about those formulas in their head, right? So number 2, the great secret to photography, and actually before I give the secret away, let me ask it in a question, okay? What do you think is the only thing that the camera actually sees? And, I see some past students on here with me, so go ahead, give it away if you want to type it into the answers. I know you probably remember what this is. There's really only one thing that the camera sees. It is capturing lots of creative elements of our story, right? It's capturing the movement, it's capturing all the elements and the things that we see, but it's only actually seeing and analyzing one thing. So I'm going to tell you what it is now. The secret to great photography, yes, yes, you're all answering it. Thank you. It's light, okay? A lot of people forget this. We're so busy, again, getting stuck with this tool, trying to make it work for us, getting confused and frustrated without just looking at our world and paying attention to the light. So here's myth number 2 I want to bust for you. Auto, right? 99% of the world who goes out on Amazon, buys these fancy cameras and thinks, oh, this is just such a great fancy tool. It's going to automatically take great photos for me, right? Wrong. Auto, all auto is really doing is actually averaging. Yes, I love the comment. Light reflects shadows of light. Exactly. Those are all elements of light. So the way this tool, digital or not, is it's analyzing light that's coming through the lens and hitting the sensor back in the body. When we click, it's holding on to that light in a certain way. It's analyzing the shadows, it's analyzing the bright parts, and it's trying to, in auto mode, it's trying to average all those versions of light together into one average photo. So that's why when you shoot in auto mode, at least you get something. But come on, does it really actually look the way it felt to you in the moment when you're using your eyes to look at the scene? No, it's just getting an average, dull version of that image. It's not actually capturing the way it felt to you, your perspective of that story. So A stands for average, not auto, okay? That's myth number 2. So as this camera sees the light, um, we're going to use certain to help it control that light, okay? And the main setting we use to control light on our camera is ISO. Now, don't ask me what it stands for because it doesn't matter. All I want you to think of is ISO is light. ISO is analyzing the light in my camera, bring in more or less light. Now, here's the cool thing. The camera, as much as it's just looking at the light, in that light, it's also capturing these creative aspects of our visual stories, of our 2D images that represent our real world experiences, right? So it's capturing motion and it's capturing focus or depth of field. All right. So let's dive into number 3, which is movement or motion. So, first, I want to tell you something about motion in the camera. The camera sees motion better than our eyes can see it. It can slow motion down, it can speed motion up, it can really create this energetic feeling in your photos that, again, brings the viewer back to what it felt like when you were standing there experiencing that moment. And we can do that using a setting called shutter speed. Okay. So I want to bust myth number 3 for you. Okay. A lot of people think you have to memorize every single number across the range of these settings to be able to know which number is the number to capture my story. But the truth is, once we actually pay attention to, hi guys, to the story that we're trying to capture, and we recognize that movement plays a big part in our story, then we know, oh, I just need to focus on using shutter speed to actually slow down or freeze that movement I want to capture. Okay. So we're emphasizing energy, we're emphasizing emotion, we're emphasizing using the setting called shutter speed. Now, after we dive into your story and we really start to get with the moment and say, okay, this is my story I want to capture. This is the moment that brings those feelings into my body, into my urge to like get this photo. Then we start looking at the camera story, right? We talked about light, we talked about movement. So let's dive into number 4, which is all about focus. Okay. So the first thing I want to tell you about focus is it's kind of cool. The camera works just like our eyes work, okay? So how do we see light, right? Thanks for that thumbs up, guys. I'm glad you're here. How do we see light, right? Our eyes have pupils, right? And they dilate, they open to let more light in, or they contract when it's too bright and we need less light to come in so we can see properly, right? Well, guess what? This lens right here, it does the same thing, okay? So let me bust myth number 4 for you, okay? A lot of people believe that you have to have expensive gear to get great photos. Now, I know a lot of my photography friends are on here joining me right now, and they're going, well, my better lens, my really expensive lens is the best lens ever. That may be true, but that doesn't mean that you have to buy a bunch of expensive gear to get professional level photos, okay? You can have any kind of gear. You can have the most basic beginner camera, and I promise you, you're going to be able to capture crisp, beautiful portraits and close-ups, and you're also going to be able to get great landscapes, right? So it's all about where you're focusing and how you're experiencing that story you're trying to capture. Now, with focus, the term that we use in photography to represent focus is really depth of field. And I want to explain it a little bit to you because explained in a lot of different ways. And again, I'm not going to get technical or throw out jargon that you're not going to remember. I want it to feel realistic and practical when I'm explaining this. So think of depth of field, not just as what's in focus or not in focus, but think of it as what you focus on first. Because when we can figure out and pay attention to the moment and say, hey, oh my God, this is what I'm honed in on, even though there's this great big world out here or other aspects of the scene that may play a part in the story, I can realize that I'm honed in on this one aspect of the story. When we realize that, that's the first thing we want people to look at, then we can decide would be your body experiencing the world like this? Or are you going, oh my God, look at this big scene that I'm looking at, like these back here, right? So if you are honing in close, you're gonna get you're gonna want that zoomed in focus, right? Not just zoomed in, but you're gonna want that close depth of field. And if you're looking at this great big wide scene, you're gonna want a wider depth of field. You're gonna want to see everything in the shot. So the setting we use to really capture the story of depth of field, what we're focusing on first, and how much more we want our viewer to focus on, the setting we use is aperture. Okay. So we've talked about your story, the most important thing in photography that a lot of people forget about. We've talked about the three things that represent the camera story, the way the camera sees your story, right? Light, motion, and focus. Now let's dive into the last step, okay? This is about being creative. So that's such a generalized term, I know. So you can change the word creative to composition, right? This is about how we compose our shot or frame our subjects within our story. And I'm going to bust the fifth and final myth for you guys right now, okay? Sure, there are lots and lots of great compositional techniques that you can learn. And in fact, if you want to learn a bunch of them, go join my weekly photography tips, because I think I send out like 20 different emails with completely different tips that you can use with your cell phone or your fancy camera to capture cool aspects of your story just by changing the frame around, okay? But even though those techniques are out there, the myth that I want to bust is that you have to use those techniques to tell a great story. The truth is, most of us pros, we break those rules all the time. And you know how we break those rules? By getting back to the moment, by letting our creativity take over, by setting aside all the things that we learned and just being present to what we're paying attention to and letting the moment flow, just kind of moving around with the scene. The other thing about being creative is no great photographer is going to say, "Oh, I get it on the first shot every time." Nope. We are constantly honing our story as we're shooting it. I know most great photographers, you have an hour-long portrait photo shoot, you're probably taking well over 100 photos. But in that 100 photos, you're going to find these gems because you took time to again be present with the moment and keep changing your frame around, getting in close, zooming in or stepping back, putting your subject in the bottom left corner, top right. So when we think about these 5 steps, number 5 is about being creative and then going back to step number 1. It's a full circle, okay? Every time I click and I'm capturing that moment, then I'm looking for this next story, or I'm asking if my story has changed, and I'm running through the 3 steps that the camera sees and then being creative with my composition, okay? So once you learn a few simple framing tricks, you just break the rules and start playing, okay? This is why creativity is so important to photography. This is why photography is still an art form, okay? It's just like picking up the paintbrush. There's certain techniques you use, right? But most great artists are breaking those every day. So, quick recap. Your story, it matters most. You've got to be thinking about it the whole time. You've got to stay present to the moment. Then we can use the middle 3 steps, light, motion, focus, to see how the camera is going to see our story. Then we can be creative with step number 5 and keep going, repeating these steps time after time, click after click. All right. Now, I really do encourage you, if you're still in auto mode, or maybe you've switched back after trying to learn some other modes, I want you to switch your camera into manual mode and actually go out and start experimenting with these settings, okay? Start playing around and having fun with it. Don't force yourself to feel like you have to be perfect and take every shot perfectly. Go experiment, go play, all right? This is what makes this whole hobby or journey with storytelling fun, right? Now, I'm sure maybe I've talked a little fast, but I'm right at 30 minutes. I love it. I'm sure you all know this is literally the tip of the iceberg, okay? There is a world of photography out there. In fact, it's one of the most popular hobbies in the world, right? So hopefully what I've shared with you today isn't going to be something that you see in any other YouTube videos. It's not going to be something that you see if you're out there trying to find and hone a specific technique, a lighting technique, a certain type of portrait you want to capture. Those are all more technical parts of the photography journey. And we dive into all that in my full workshop. So I want to invite you to our next and only in-person photography workshop. This is a all day exclusive immersive experience in downtown Orlando, and we're going to literally get you mastering manhandling your camera. We are going to get comfortable holding the camera, like to move around with it and keep clicking and running through these 5 steps. We're going to understand with your camera, not just any camera, but we're going to work one-on-one with you to actually know how to maneuver your fingers around and change those buttons, okay? So this workshop is at the Orlando Photography Studio on May 11th. Starts at 9 a.m. I'm gonna open the doors at 8:30 because I've got a bunch of great people, well, not a bunch, because I'm really limiting this to a small group of people, but we have some people already signed up and they're excited to network and meet other great photographers. So we're gonna open the doors early, let everyone meet and mingle, and May 11th is when we're doing this. So you're in master manual mode. We're going to get one-on-one one-to-one hands-on guidance, right? I'm going to be right there by your side showing you how to move your fingers around and how to get an even better shot every time you shoot. We're also going to take everything you learn and actually put it into play. We're going to do some demonstrations. I'm going to set up some photography scenes where you can practice what it feels like to go through these 5 steps and capture great shots. I have a full 60-page presentation. You're going to get all the slides when you join the workshop. I'm also offering, this is the first time, yes, May 11th. I'm going to be offering a post-workshop lunch Q&A. So we're actually going to hang out after the workshop. I'm offering everyone who wants to stay. I'm going to bring you guys lunch, and we're just going to talk shop. Or you can bring all your gear. I've got hopefully a few other photographers joining us. So they do completely different types of photography than I do. You can pick their brain. We could talk about anything from honing your photography. It starts at 9 a.m. Florida. 9 a.m. opening the doors at 8:30. And listen, as I keep going, if you want to check it out now, just head on over to livewonderful.com/workshop. Okay. All the information is there, more than what I can remember to say right now, but all the details are there. So lunch Q&A, talk and shop, bring your gear. We can talk about honing your specific style of photography. We can talk about what it's like to start a business, and I can really point you in the right direction so you don't waste too much time fumbling with the business side of it. And there's just tons of other great stuff that we're going to dive into that make coming to an in-person class so valuable, okay? And listen, I know there's a million great things out there. You've got YouTube. I call it YouTube University. You can learn almost anything on YouTube, right? And I know that there's other photography workshops out there, in-person workshops, but I can guarantee you none of them are like mine, okay? And any past student would tell you the same thing. It is a completely transformational experience. It does not just teach you how to master manual mode. It is literally going to show you how to see your life and capture your experiences forever differently, right? You're going to take these skills with you forever. You're going to have fun enjoying this process. And my goal is that you're done being overwhelmed, you're done feeling frustrated, and you just enjoy the process of going through a photography journey. So I got a couple more things to tell you. One is today's the last day for the early bird special. Now, the normal price of this workshop is $495, but end of today is the last chance. You get $100 off. And I'm going to be giving away some bonuses at the workshop. So I still have to give one of you guys a free cheat sheet today. Everyone who comes to the workshop is going to get my cheat sheet. Yes, it is absolutely okay if you're a beginner. And please keep asking questions. This is what this time is all about. Q&A. Ask me anything. I'm here with you guys. Everyone is going to get a cheat sheet that comes to my workshop. I'm about to give one of you guys a free one of these right now. So stick around because one lucky winner is going to get one whether you come to the workshop or not. This is something I haven't done before. So not only do I've done these workshops in the past, but not only are you going to get the cheat sheet, and the extra thing I'm offering in this workshop I've never done before is that lunch and post Q&A, but I'm also going to give you access to my online course. So in 2020, I took everything that I had been teaching in person and I built a high-level professional online course. It starts with 13 videos. The biggest course option goes all the way up to 35 videos. You guys are going to get access to my accelerator course, where basically everything you learn in the workshop, you can go home and have it in video form. These are short, bite-sized videos where we dive into everything you've learned in the workshop and more, okay? So I've never done that before. I've never given away that entire online course. That's $100 value. It's yours if you join the workshop. You also get $100 off if you join by today. You'll get the cheat sheet, the lunch Q&A, and I have a swag bag of a bunch of photography goodies to give you as well if you join us. So last bonus, if you join the photography workshop today, okay? And this is only for everyone who's sticking with me to the end here, because I'm not mentioning this ever again. I want to offer every single one of you a free portfolio review, okay? So what's a portfolio review? It is a chance for after the workshop. Let's imagine you're out there, you're shooting great stuff, you're really enjoying practicing and shooting in manual mode, and you want feedback on your images. Well, now with this free portfolio review, you're going to be able to send me your photos. We're going to do a one-on-one virtual private lesson where I'm going to give you feedback on your photos and help you hone your photography style even more. So never done this before, but it's one more thing I want to give you guys as a gratitude. Thank you for joining me today in this live class. So if you're ready, if you want to sign up, head on over to livewonderful.com/workshop. And remember, there's only a limited number of space because I really do want to get I want everyone to feel like they get the one-on-one attention they deserve, right? I know this is a very hands-on learning experience. So I'm limiting it to the number of people who can come so that everyone gets that attention, okay? My promise to you is you're going to leave that workshop being able to capture great photos anytime, anywhere, whether it's photos of your family growing up, epic travel, print-worthy images, business photography, anything you want to shoot. It's going to all be possible for you after the workshop, okay? I mean, think about it. It's a lifetime of a creative skill that you'll be able to use forever, right? So who's ready for a free cheat sheet? You guys are still with me. I love it. Thank you so much. All right, I have a question for you. The first person to answer it quickest, I will immediately send you a copy of my cheat sheet, okay? So here's the question. What's one thing you learned today that you were like, oh my God, I didn't know that. Aha moment. Or maybe it was a great reminder that's got you inspired to go out and shoot right now. So give me an idea. Everybody, I'll give you a couple seconds. First person to respond and tell me what was the coolest thing they learned today, or what's the one thing that helped them feel inspired to go out and shoot again. You're going to get a free cheat sheet, okay? I'll give you guys a few minutes. Take a sip of water. Haven't had one in a half hour. I love it. I love it. Florida Prana's got it. Capturing your story in the picture. Yes. It gives me goosebumps sometimes when I say it. It's such a aha moment, right? You're like, wait a minute. This is visual storytelling. What's my story? That's the point of this creative hobby or profession that we're in. That's why we love it so much. That's where the passion is, the purpose. So Florida Prana, if you're on Instagram and you want to just shoot me a DM, send me your email address and I'll make sure you get a copy of this, okay? You'll be able to download it right away and literally get all the answers to how to use these settings, right? This is the key to the workshop as well. We literally go through all 5 steps, the steps that I started sharing with you today. We're going to go through them in more detail and actually go over all of the range of settings and what they mean when we're using them to capture your story. Awesome. Last little bit of time I've got with you guys. Tell me, do you have any questions? I am here. I'm looking at my YouTube chat. Is it necessary to add a caption with the image? Storyteller, can you elaborate on that question a little bit more? Is it necessary to add a caption with the image? Maybe you mean when you're sharing that photo, and I guess I'll just explain it in this way. I hope this helps. Hopefully, the goal of a great image is that the viewer immediately feels the way you felt when you were there. Thanks, Lottie. Lottie said I'm a great instructor. She's been a student of mine for years and years. The workshop will be ending around lunchtime. I don't like to put a hard end on it because we're always just having so much fun. And like I said, if you want to stick around for lunch and a Q&A shop talk, you can stick around a little bit longer. But typically the part I want you to absolutely stick around for at the workshop to get to the nuts and bolts and get everything you need, I would say around lunchtime. It's about 3.5 to 4 hours. So hopefully, to answer your question, Street Storyteller on YouTube, hopefully your photo doesn't need a caption. Hopefully it is already, let me tell you this, I had a retired, very professional, famous photographer once say to me, I had the opportunity to put my portfolio in front of him and I got super nervous. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to look at my photos. And he looked at them and blank face, wasn't giving me any feedback with his expression. And he looked at me and he said, what do they see? What do you want the viewer to see? And I was like, I don't know. The beautiful flower, the light coming through the trees. I don't know. I was just making up technical stuff, trying to sound smart, right? And he went, no, you want them to feel what you felt. You want them to see Danielle's perspective. So no matter what that story is, hopefully you don't need words to go along with it. Hopefully, and that's the name of the game. That's why we all love, having this as a profession is we don't walk into a photo shoot and be like, I know exactly what I'm doing. Oops. Sorry, back on Instagram. We don't walk into a photo shoot and go, I know what to do. I could do this in my sleep. Maybe we can, but the joy is in being present and playing with our creativity and figuring out that new story every single time we go out and shoot. So I have a couple other quick questions I want to run through here. By all means, I've got about 5 more minutes. So if you guys have any questions for me now, now's the time, ask away. Here's some frequently asked questions I get regularly. The first one is, what if I don't have a camera, or what if I don't think I have a good enough camera, right? Maybe you feel like your camera's outdated and you want to get a new one. Well, first I'm going to say this. Any great camera that's been purchased in the last, is my camera a digital compact camera? Will that work for me? The question is, can it go to manual mode? If your camera can switch into manual mode, you can take it into this course. That's how you'll get the most out of the course. So Florida Prana, if you have some questions about your specific camera, shoot me the make and model in your DM message, and I'll be able to help you out more with that. So bottom line is, it shouldn't matter what kind of camera you have. They're all great if they were purchased in the last few years. And I have a blog post that talks all about this, okay? So I literally have a list of all the best cameras for beginners, all the features that are involved with them. So some may be better for video too, or some may be super compact and small for smaller hands. There's all kinds of great features. And I know there are tons out there. It can be confusing to go out and buy a new camera. So I have a blog post. If you go to livewonderful.com/blog, and you can read all about my best cameras for beginner photographers. And this is an updated post for 2024, okay? Now, the other question I get a lot is, what if I don't want to go pro? What if I'm not interested in starting a business? Yes, but if you love photography, even as a hobby, shooting professional level photos is not that difficult. And I know a lot of professionals don't like to hear me say this, but the truth is, you don't have to go pro. You can be a complete beginner to come to this class, and you will still be able to leave that class feeling like a professional, feeling more confident and creative with your skills. So you do not have to go pro, but at the same time, if you do have this inkling or this full passion for possibly starting a photography business, or maybe you already have and you just want to get back to that confidence and creativity, this class is a perfect foundation for you to do that. So I'd be happy to help you guys build and start skyrocketing your own photography. I have learned from not just myself starting it, but I have worked with photography companies, and they all work a little differently. So it's really about how you want to run your life creatively and the type of photography and the type of clients you want to get. I can absolutely help you get into that. Okay. Now, I still have a bunch of you with me, so I'm going to answer some questions. How do you market yourself as a photographer? Well, hopefully, the little bit of info I just gave you gives you a little insight to that. But marketing, I'll put on my other hat for a minute, guys. So, sure, my background is in professional photography, but my degree and my business is about marketing as a whole. So, that's the other aspect that I feel like I can help you guys with is marketing your photography business. So, a lot of people, I actually see it on threads and Instagram constantly in the photography world. They're complaining and saying things like, oh, it's so hard to market myself as a photographer. Well, it's hard to market yourself in any business because there's so many people out there in the world, and social media, everyone's on it, right? It's like this, you're a little fish in a big pond. Everyone's doing it, and you feel like it's the only place to do it. So the one piece of advice I'll give you now, without opening up that can of worms of marketing yourself as a photographer, is stop thinking of it as marketing a photography business and start thinking of it as sharing your story and offering your guidance to people. So as photographers, we're not just taking pretty pictures, we're creating an experience. So think about the type of person you really want to capture and share these services with, and think about how they want to experience a photography session. And then you'll be able to know how to, quote, market yourself out there in the world. Okay. Um, Hi, I see some. I recognize some names of past students. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I need to get out there more. Yes, we all do. We should all be out there shooting all the time, even if it's just with your cell phone, right? So, um, last question I'm going to answer, and then I'll let you guys go for the day. If people ask me, what if I'm not able to join on May 11th? Okay. That's fine. That's why I built the online course. It's pretty epic. I'm going to be honest, and it's not that expensive. So you can head over to my other website, or you can find it on livewonderful.com too. But yourstorytellersjourney.com is where you'll find all the information about my 3 options for the online course. They start at just $97, and this is something that you can take with you forever. You can learn at your own pace. You can press pause. You can screenshot me. You can do whatever you want. You're going to get all the presentation slides. You're going to get a cheat sheet. You get even some extra bonus classes in there. So if you can't join us in person, you can't get that one-on-one hands-on help, at least go take the online course, because it will really change the way you shoot forever. So thank you guys so much for joining us. I went a little bit over, but I love that we still have people here, and I'm glad you're still with me. If you have any questions, and you're on Instagram, shoot me a DM. If you're on YouTube or anywhere, send me an email, hello@livewonderful.com. I'd be happy to answer any additional questions you have. Also, if you want the slides that I wasn't able to share because it got a little too techy for me, send me an email. I will make sure you get these slides, okay? So thank you for joining me. Don't forget, today's the last day for the early bird special of $100 off. Get your portfolio review for free. Get your cheat sheet and everything. Join us. I would love to see your beautiful faces on May 11th. The workshop is in downtown Orlando. It starts at 9 a.m. and you can head on over to livewonderful.com/workshop to learn more about it. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful, happy Saturday, and go keep shooting. Okay. See you later. Bye. Bye-bye, YouTube.